Barbadian man went to Cuba over Canada to study for his coaching career, for his coaching job. And so be it. So I wanted to check out the story, check out the conversation, and also remember to like, share, and leave your comments with us. All right, so welcome to Sports Club. So I just want to welcome all our sports fans to another one of our videos here on the Sports Globe YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. And we just want to say thanks to all of the people who have been subscribing, supporting, leaving their comments with us. So certainly, we have seen it and we have responded to it, and we like the conversation that has been going on. And it has been a fantastic journey thus far. But so I want to ask you to just keep subscribing, keep sharing it with your friends and your family, and anybody out there in the sporting world that you want to share it with, and just keep us growing as we continue to build this channel and to build it out into exactly what we want it to be. So today we're going to be having a nice discussion with a friend of us who step into the room today to support us and to join us and to share with us and well, I want to welcome him as a friend right now because I think that's where it is, because he's another Caribbean man inside of the room, and I just want to give a big shout out to Ray Rudder for joining us
Yes.
today. Welcome, Ray,
Yes.
into the
Thank
room.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you
man,
for having me, man.
it's a privilege. I think I'd met you down at York a few years ago, my wife and I came through York. And we wanted to bring the boys and girls championship to Toronto to set it up so that we could have a watch party kind of thing. And I can remember that I came down to York and met you, you know um and we had a conversation. It was pretty supportive, but we never got the project off the road, so it never happened. So but in the future we're planning on doing it, that we can have a watch party, maybe down at York University. So welcome, Coach Ray Rudder. Understand that you are the head coach down at York University for a number of years now. But I want to just dive into your career, your journey thus far. Coming from Barbados into Canada, into Toronto, and getting into one of the would you say it's an Ivy League university here in Canada? Because York University is certainly massive from what I understand.
Honestly, York University is what they consider to be the third largest campus in terms of physical space.
Hmm.
When it comes to average in getting in, yeah,
Hmm.
it's pretty high. I would say we still have the UFTs and the UBCs and those guys ahead
Hmm.
of us. So I would say like York is considered maybe top five in Canada in terms of
Top five in Canada.
yeah, yeah,
So that's pretty big.
yeah.
So we would say, Rudy would say, we have a big boss with us today, that because he's one of the top administrators in the athletics fraternity in Canada. Being
No,
at the university level. So but I want to
no,
start off
certainly,
with you.
certainly, yeah, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
It's
You
a pretty good university. It's really good. It's good for
know.
some of the really good programs. The kinesiology certainly is the biggest program where you get a lot of kids coming from all over the globe. Coming in for that specific program because they have the facility
Hmm.
and certainly they have the professors for that. So I always encourage the high school kids when they ask me they want to get into kinesiology. I always guide them to York University compared to any other university around.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic. So it's a big thing. So I want to commend you though, and getting to that level, right?
thanks,
As a
man.
Caribbean
Appreciate it.
man, I really, and what's so funny about it, Coach Ray, is that he's not a Jamaican, not a Trinidad, and I call
Mhm.
in all of the. It's not that I'm saying Barbados is not big on the athletics,
Yeah,
but Jamaica, Trinidad, um,
Bahamas,
Bahamas,
Bahamas.
yeah.
Bahamas. Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are
yeah,
the
yeah.
those are the big names out there in the Caribbean
Yeah.
when it comes on to athletics. And for you coming here, and getting involved and reaching to the level and putting a mark down. is certainly commendable. So I want to start off with your journey, though. How did you get involved in the whole thing of track and field and coaching? Where did it all started for you, though?
It honestly started with me being involved in sport as a teenager because I would have started off in soccer and field hockey. Those sports I was attending practice and training for. But when I realized that naturally on those in those games and in those spaces that I had a little bit more speed than the average player, then
Mm,
that's when it dawned on me that I should consider doing track and field. So I ended up joining a club in Barbados. It's called BC Track Athletics Club. I think it's Barrow
mm,
Carter. Those two coaches that started the club together, and I went through from, I would say, maybe third form. I joined, so third form in Barbados is around age 14,
mm-hmm,
and I started training and had no clue, what the sport could potentially offer me as an opportunity. But at that point, that club had a lot of the star junior athletes for Barbados. We're talking about, I think they had considered him the fastest schoolboy in the world. This was a guy called Bilan Louis. He was a 400 runner in Barbados back in that time, and I think his times were like 45 as a teenager. So
mm.
yeah, so
45.
the
Wow.
folk,
Wow,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
So
running.
those
yeah.
I was in the shadow of those guys, no attention wasn't really like placed on me as a priority, but I did whatever they asked and stuff, and went up to CSC level, didn't know that scholarships existed, and when the coach saw that I had more than seven CSCs, she was like, why didn't I let her know that I was doing this, man? The usual. And
Yeah.
uh, then I found out that there's a thing called SATs and getting a
Mm-hmm,
score to go to the universities across
mm-hmm,
to the USA. And I sat the exam and
mm-hmm.
still didn't know like what is the
Yeah.
requirement for getting a scholarship. So at that point,
Okay.
I think I made up in my mind that if I ever get the chance to become a coach, that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
no athlete under my care would be left out in terms of what they need to know in order to
Yeah.
succeed and what they can gain from being an active participant in the sport. So from there,
Okay.
I started researching on my own what is there out there that I can do. So I found out Jamaica offers what they
Mm-hmm.
consider the community college degree or the associate degree, as they call it home. And that was through GC Foster, and I think
Mm-hmm.
they also
Oh yeah,
had
yeah.
something up in Cuba. Trinidad was starting to put some stuff together for UE. And,
Mm-hmm.
so, after trying to research this thing, I ended up applying to York University in Canada, got into
Mm.
York University. And my cousins that reside here in Canada, when they found out, they were the ones that said, hey, well, if you're actually going to be attending York, we live in Etobicoke. We could actually house you so you
Ah.
can commute in and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
did my own part and research, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
intrude on family and stuff. So I went
Yeah,
down
yeah,
to the
Yeah.
certainly,
Ministry of
certainly.
Education, and they were the ones that said, "Hey, like, where are you planning to do in
Mm-hmm.
Canada?" I was like, yeah, I still want to be in this coaching, and kinesiology is the course that I got into in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. So they're like, what are you going to do with kinesiology? I was like, well, it's still the study of movement and therapy, and maybe I can still get into coaching with it. But it was at that point that a higher education officer said to me, hey, there's some scholarships available in Cuba.
Mm.
And that's where, I asked, like, okay, but what is this like? They were like, it is exactly what you want to study. It is physical education and sports training. So I was like,
Yeah.
huh. Went home, spoke to my parents. They're like, whatever you decide. And I then told my family here, hey, I have an opportunity, Cuba. and I would take it. Thanks for the opportunity to be housed in your home and stuff. But that's where the journey started. I went to Cuba, and then I realized that Cuba was basically one of the other powerhouses in the Caribbean when it came to
Yes.
track and
Yep,
field, in
Uh-huh.
yep,
terms of
yep,
the
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
jumps, the field events, the 110 hurdles, and, that kind of
Very
stuff up to
technical.
800.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I found out too that Jamaica was also heavily supported by Cuba
By
because
Cuba.
a
Yep,
lot of their field
Uh-huh.
eventers were going into Cuba for
Right.
training. A lot of the
yep,
coaches were going
yep,
into
yep.
Cuba for training.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, only when I was there in Cuba, Jamaica ended up taking all of their top candidates and students from GC Forstler and sent
Mm-hmm.
them into Cuba.
Yeah.
So it was only
Oh,
now, my eyes open to like, hey, like, maybe I made
Uh,
the right decision, you never know where this
yeah.
thing could go. But that opportunity in Cuba was, a life changing experience because they were
Okay.
the ones that taught you how to build programs from scratch, how to use, the environment, natural resources. You don't need too much of the fancy equipment. You don't
that's
necessarily
question. Yep.
need, hurdles. You can put together some PVC pipe with the joints and make a obstacle, a hurdle.
I
They legit
get
taught
creative.
you how to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, yeah, to
Yeah.
improvise with what you have. And then as well there, because I started to really think outside of the box. I was like, I need to know what it is that the Cubans do that they are far ahead of
Everybody,
everyone else when it
everybody
comes to
else.
the
Yep.
jumps
Mm-hmm.
and the field events and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did my own journeys down to their Olympic stadium where their top team is actually training, and
Training.
that's where
Mm-hmm.
the one of the coaches there took me on, and he said, hey, like, you notice that you're always sitting outside this gate, like, what is it that you're. I'm like, hey man, I'm watching, I'm seeing drills that I've never seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed that these guys are training for hours, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to learn. And he was
What
like,
year was it?
so this was the year 2001 that I went to
2001.
Cuba. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
spent 5 years there. And, it was the last 2 years that that coach took me on as what they would call like an apprentice coach. And it also
Mm-hmm.
served as part of my journey for getting the hours required to be, in the field coaching. And he
Okay.
took me, I was supposed to be there with him 2 days a week. I ended up going 4 out of 7 because I wanted to learn
You
this
wanted
thing.
to learn.
To learn.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that two
That's super.
hours,
That's
those
good.
2 years with him was the changing point in, my mentality of, okay, what it requires. Like, what do you really need to do? What are the
Mm-hmm.
mistakes that he made? What did he learn along in
Mm-hmm.
his journey? And I took everything he told me and exposed me to heart. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll go back home to Barbados and try to develop the jumps. But,
Yeah.
coming in as a younger guy back home now after graduating, they were the ones that said, hey, like, you just can't come and say what you want to do. Like, you got to
Yeah.
go start up your own thing. Like, you got to go middle distance. So I ended up
Yeah.
middle distance until I found the jumper, and then that happened. Then those athletes that I started off with in Barbados, they ended up making national teams early from like the age
Mm.
14 and stuff like that. They started to do well. They got medals. They did high school
Mm-hmm.
records. They got scholarships. And it was 2012 that when my athlete got a scholarship to Kansas State, that she left Barbados, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should consider trying the NCAA coaching. And then I applied and I got into Indiana Tech, and I did my grad school there and coaching as well. And then from there, I came over to Canada because my wife is the Canadian. And it
Okay.
just so happened that that was the year Canada was hosting the Pan Am Games, and I
Fun
was
Oh,
games.
also
Yeah.
okay.
attached. Yeah, I was also attached still to Team Barbados at that point, and I
Hmm.
helped them out there a little bit. And then, the coaches here saw me when I was there, and they were like, "Hey, like, do you mind helping us out with volunteering?" And then I started the same September of 2015 at York, and then it eventually transitioned into me leading the program. No, it wasn't planned. Didn't plan to be leading anything here, but it just so happened that head coach took off, and he recommended me to be the interim, and then I had to fight
Okay.
for it, and I fight hard. I really fought hard for it,
Eh,
and I
Oh,
was thankful that I got it, and I'm still to this day trying my best to make the program the best that it can be.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you have been the head coach since what year?
So I was the interim from 2017, and then
Okay.
I got the actual assignment from 2018
From
as the appointed
2018.
head coach. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So just to even go back a little bit, so GC Foster, and that's why Cuba is essential to a lot of what Jamaica is
A lot
doing,
of
even
Jamaicans,
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Cuba is very essential to that because GC
yeah.
Foster was actually donated to Jamaica, so by the Cuban government. So the Cuban government literally built that facility out of
Wow.
GC
See,
Foster.
didn't even
Oh
know
wow,
that.
wow.
Today, I think GC Foster is pretty much a university that they're offering a lot of degree programs and
Hmm.
master's programs they're offering now, and that's why you see a plethora of track and field coaches now, and that's why the quality is even better now than it before. So yes, the kids have talent, but you needed that kind of coaching level and skill. And of course, Cuba was one of the best at it in our hemisphere. You know, to date, I really think the German coaches for all sports is the best in the world. I can tell you that
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I agree. I
And
agree.
I think Cuba would have been working with them somewhere down the road based on my understanding, and that's why Cuba is the way they are. Javier Sotomayor never just happened at the Olympics at all when he set his record for the high jump. I mean, and it stood there for years upon years before it was ever broken. So I mean, Cuba, fantastic place for training. So it was really great to for you to even go there and be a
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of that. A lot of people would love that kind of opportunity, and that's why
yeah.
they're who they are. So it has been a
Hmm.
little journey for you. So it pretty much started in Barbados. So you
Yes,
came to
yes.
Canada and you left Canada and I said, boy, it's not going to work here. You have to go to somewhere that them have the greatest of the expertise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it, man. Because at the end
Yeah,
of the day, you're looking at the Caribbean, and like you said, it was always Jamaica, Trinidad,
yeah.
Bahamas. Like those are
Bahamas, yeah.
the countries that would
Hmm.
do well before us. Like our
Right.
first like true Olympic medal came in Sydney 2000. Like, and that was
With
with
Obadeli.
Eddie Thompson. Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
The top
Thomas got
Obadeli.
a bronze
the
medal.
200 bronze medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, I said that I don't think Barbados has like necessarily a structure that I can follow, because he
Hmm.
had an NCAA scholarship, and obviously a
Mm-hmm.
lot of his development after running fast in
Yep,
high school
yep,
in
yep,
Barbados came
yep.
Yeah,
from there. So I was like, hey, like I might not be able to get an NCAA scholarship to try and get into coaching. Like I still need to figure out what in the Caribbean is there that I could use, and I would, like I said, I was thankful that I made that decision to take the Cuba over Canada when it came to the
yeah,
education. And that, from my understanding, the Cuban system is, and Fidel was very smart, it's built on the American system,
hmm,
the Germans, the Russians, and the
yes,
Chinese.
The
yes,
Chinese. Yep.
Yeah.
yes.
So they
And they
took the
merge
best
all of
out of their
those.
system, merge it into their own.
Yeah, fantastic. Talk to us a little bit now in terms of what has been your highest point at York University. Is there an athlete that would have reached to maybe the World Championships, the Olympics? Can you speak to anything like that in terms of your career so far?
Um, in terms of at York, I would say since I've been there,
Hmm.
um, I would say Brittany Crew. She was
Yeah.
an Olympian. and she attended multiple major championships
Yep,
for shot
yep.
put in women.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pierce LePage, he came along
Mm.
after. He was also part of that leadership portion when I took over, and um, I'm so happy that his coach, his personal coach, was able to come back on staff with us and help
Yeah.
guide the high jumpers
The high jumpers.
and multi eventers. You
Yeah.
know, and many people ask me like, why didn't I use Pierce to full extent? I was like, no, like my lens in this sport is like, hey, if this
Mm-hmm.
guy is potential world class, like why would I do that to
Mm-hmm.
him when I know that
To
the
him.
next stage for him is to go to a major championship and perform
Right.
well. So, you
Yeah.
know, we just
And
allowed him to
certainly, which is
choose
what,
the, yeah,
and that's what happened with him because he have a
yes,
gold medal.
yeah,
Yeah, so,
exactly,
so
Mm-hmm.
certainly,
exactly.
so
So we
to
just
destroy
used
it.
the indoor
Yeah,
portion to let him tune up on the events that he needs more work in.
yeah,
And
Mm-hmm.
then he did his full 10 outdoor. So, and that is one of the disadvantages to me about the Canadian collegiate, if you want to call it, system because it's
Mm-hmm.
only indoor and there's not a lot of stuff that you can get accomplished indoor when
indoors.
you're
Yeah,
going between a flat 200 track and a bank
into
200 track,
into a bank to
Yeah.
on
right?
the track.
Because, yeah, most indoor championships are held on a bank 200
Bank
track.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and not a flat. So us rotating because of very few universities have that kind of infrastructure and the ability to host. We go in between bank and flat, and I
And
think that
flat.
that is
Yeah,
kind of like the disconnect where the good athletes here in Canada that are at the college level they don't transition well outdoor. So I find
Mm-hmm.
that's the big disconnect
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
Certainly is. But even talking about Brittany Cruz came out from our program at Brushburn Collegiate, the high school that I coach at. So
Mm-hmm.
that's certainly,
Oh, okay.
certainly that school still going on now, and I'm still coaching with them, has produced a few Olympians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
At one point
Mm.
we had all three
Birchmount.
fastest, yeah, all three fastest men in Canada came from that school at one time,
Ah.
in the exact
Oh.
same event, all three of
That's the
them.
school.
Mm-hmm.
That's the school at DeGrasse too.
No,
Oh,
no,
DeGrasse didn't go to that
yeah,
school.
yeah, that's the school of
Okay.
on Aaron Brown.
Aaron
Aaron
Brown,
Brown.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
Aaron
Yeah,
Brown.
Aaron
Okay.
Brown. Yeah. So you have
Yeah.
Aaron Brown. So certainly, like I said, the school system here is not bad. It produced some great athletes. But Aaron still ended up going to the States. All four of them went to the US.
There you go.
Brittany did not. Brittany did
Yeah,
not. Brittany stayed home, and from staying home, she ended up becoming an Olympian. A few
yeah,
times, I
yeah.
think twice or three times.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
so so certainly it depends on the event that you're doing. You don't have to leave just
Yes,
based on
yeah.
the
Mm.
event. So
So,
because she was in the shot put, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
so, coach, I want to go back to your career a little bit because you said that while he was in Barbados and just being discovered in terms of running, there was a guy that was in your group, but he was ahead of you guys running 45. So what you did? 46?
So no, I was in that 49 trying to break that 48 barrier. So like me
Okay.
training with them, all I saw was their backs all the
They're
time.
back. They're back.
Yeah, yeah, you know. And you just
Because
couldn't understand like what is it that they're doing that I'm not
yeah,
doing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because
yeah,
running
yeah.
running 45 that time, you would be in
At
a
that
nice little
time.
elite group of people.
yeah,
Even
Yeah,
if you're running
yeah. But I
46
did
as
it.
a schoolboy, running
It
46
did
as a
not.
schoolboy was you would be
A big
in
thing.
that
It's a
yeah,
big
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
But
be
but
in
but
that
you never
elite
had that.
because no,
Yeah.
46
yeah,
at
You
that
never
time
had that.
was
Yeah.
really what schoolboys was doing because even today 46 is what secondary school kids are doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when a kid is running 45 in secondary school, that's a big deal just the same
yeah,
because
Yeah.
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 you have Olympians who are still running 45 lows,
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
running 45 lows. You can
Yeah.
make a
Yeah.
semifinals with 45 at the
With the
Olympics right
45.
now.
Yeah.
Still,
Yes, you
so
can.
for that guy to be running 45, then that must have been a huge thing. What happened to him though?
And that's
What
the
has
thing.
become of
Like,
him?
uh, we knew that he did represent Barbados for, many meets. We know that for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think he ended up like taking a NCAA scholarship,
he
and
didn't.
and if he did ended up in the USA, I think it was maybe for uh, maybe a junior college or something. But he did leave,
Okay.
but he came back quickly, you know. So
Mm,
and then he was still training at home, doing well.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
again, you know, the structure at home is not one where he's going to be in a
okay.
system that, you know, is a
Okay.
formal training system.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I guess with life and the distractions and everything,
Distraction.
he
Yeah, yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, ended up petering out of the
Opportunities,
sport.
opportunities,
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah, yeah.
Because at that time, at that time, the US was this place, and even today, still, despite of
Yeah.
what we want to say about the US, because they're competition, and there's good
Hmm.
competition, and
Yeah.
the USA competition is almost like the Olympics.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
The athletes are running and throwing and jumping to that level.
yes.
So certainly,
Okay.
certainly that is what it is. So, but in those back in those days, talking about 20 plus years ago, man, listen, there's athletes them didn't know that opportunity
Mm-hmm.
was there coming out here, and then we always talk about no, they always get into a junior college instead of a Division 1 school.
Mm-hmm.
Always,
Yeah,
always get
yeah.
into a division. So so
Because
that's
most of
something
the
that
time
yeah,
they don't
they
know
don't know.
what is
Yeah,
the different steps to
the
take,
different steps. Yeah,
and then when they find out it's too late, and then they
it's
have
too
to
late.
take the junior college because they never really
Yeah,
took the academics seriously, you know.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
how they end up passing through there. Not that it's a bad thing, because people like Andre DeGrasse, he went through junior
He went through
college
it.
and
Yeah,
Junior
did
yeah,
college.
well. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of them went through junior
yeah,
college
Yeah.
yeah.
and did very well. I think also from Jamaica, Campbell Brown, VCV. She was another one
Yeah,
that
man.
went
She
through.
went junior
Yeah,
college
Yeah,
first. Yeah, man.
yeah.
he went
They
junior
did.
college first. Yeah,
A number of them went to. A number of athletes go to
Hmm.
junior college, and then some of them progressed to university and things. So
yeah,
they started there, and it's even getting better now because a lot of athletes now. I mean, the quality is a little bit better now. They have a lot
yes,
more
yes,
chances.
yes. But
Hmm.
I still think, even now, a junior college is still a better way to go, and I'll say why. Because you on an education standpoint is better
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
because you get in both education and sports is better
mm-hmm.
because you get 2 years in junior college and
Yeah,
4 years eligibility in a Division 1 school. So 6 years of college where you could still get your masters done. So
Yeah,
academic wise, it's good, and it put you in a position where you could
mm-hmm.
work yourself up within an Olympic Games and a World Championship Games. So you can get two World Championship and an Olympics in that 6 years. So
Yeah.
certainly that is certainly a good way to go. You go to the Division 1, you only get 4 years, right
So
now. So
yeah,
yeah.
so coach, seemed like you had quite a bit of a journey, from Barbados to Canada. I mean, so you went Barbados. You discovering your talent now that you like the athletics thing. You started looking around, came to Canada, but quickly you discovered that Canada wasn't the place to get me where I want to go in terms of my vision and your thing. You would have discovered Cuba, and then you went to the US for a little bit some certification as well,
Yeah,
and you got
yeah.
that and came back to Canada. So you had a bit of a journey. How has it been for you so far personally, though? Is it a rewarding kind of career? Is a journey that you would tell another Barbados youngster, hey, listen, a career in coaching is something that
unfortunately, someone
you
you should
you,
do.
you, you can do,
Yeah.
and you can come to Canada and achieve, a certain level
Yes,
if you want.
I would say it was a journey that I discovered as I kept doing more research. You know,
Hmm.
it wasn't planned out at all. It was only when you got to a juncture and you realize, like this might not be it. It might not be all that I'm looking for. And I would definitely say yes. From a certification point of view, you need it. I would say from that bachelor level that we have now in Jamaica going up, it will help you to be a better rounded individual when it comes to the coaching. You would have a lot more tools to choose from. You also need your World Athletics certification or a national certification. And I see now that Canada is taking their NCCP to the Caribbean and allowing it to be some part of a national certification system.
Oh, they are.
Because yeah, we don't have it in the Caribbean as a. We always use World Athletics, so
Mm.
Yeah.
that is one that will help anyone that is trying to get into coaching to to have that opportunity there. And it is not necessarily that you have to be a good athlete to become a coach. Like I wouldn't consider myself a great
A good
athlete. I
athlete.
was average, like I said.
Yeah,
Couldn't
try to run
couldn't break
48.
48, to make a national team. So I was always coming up short. And you can still produce guys that can run the time that you wanted to run.
Hey, yeah,
you know?
Hey, coach, Sid McLaughlin running the 400 hurdles will give you a hard time.
Hey, I get you got that right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's so far the
But
sport has come so far, eh?
yeah, yeah. But
And
the
then,
one thing though that was the true eye
yeah.
opener about coaching is that in the USA they thrive on that system where it's past great athletes going
Mhm.
back into coaching. They use that as a marketing piece to get athletes to come to again to them. So, like for example, Levan Sands that jumped
Mhm.
for Bahamas. You having
Yeah.
Bahamas.
him
Yeah.
now at Kentucky,
And
and yeah,
uh,
you can say, hey, you're going to
did
be
it, did
coached
it,
by a
but
Olympian.
is it Kentucky now? But he was at Florida
He
State.
was he was in Florida State. He just switched over to
Oh, he just switched
University of
over.
Kentucky. Yeah,
It's
Mm.
surprising because
and that
Florida
and
State was a
that
big
is
school.
one
Yeah.
of the things
Yeah.
about the NCAA that I don't like. Like they move so much.
So
They
much.
move
So
so you
much.
can be
So much.
recruited in
What's
in August, and by the time you get there in September, the coach is gone.
Yeah, we got.
Like
yeah,
they move
Yeah.
so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
coach?
Yeah.
I'm going to
and
ask you.
not
I'm
every
going to ask
school
you.
has everything.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you this big one. You can choose to answer it any way that you want, right? I'm not putting you on the spot, but you can answer it. I know you have a job and you've been there from 2018. But if you had to do it again, um, would you choose a U.S. college university? Would you choose a U.S. school as opposed to a Canadian school if you had to do it again? Based on what you see happening now and the development of track and field and where it has been today.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a
you
tough
can
one.
pass on it if you want to.
It has a lot of
Yeah,
positives
yeah.
and negatives to that. It's just that again, if I'm looking at the sport in terms of full development,
Hmm.
I would say USA because you will allow me now the opportunity to do both indoor and outdoor with athletes.
Okay, okay.
If I'm looking at it from a developing standpoint for the sport in general,
Yeah.
I also see Canada as like one of those hidden gems. Like we have the talent here. It's just
Okay.
that for me, in my experience, I'm being formally trained as a coach, that the indoor only and then going back to club system is kind of hindering a lot of athletes that
Yeah.
can transition well into that outdoor, what you call getting the standard to be on the national team.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
just the disconnect. But I would still say that having the outdoor opportunity is better
Yeah.
because you are so limited sticking indoor for so long here because it's so
Right.
cold the environment, you know. So I would say in order for to develop continuously world class athletes, you need to have the athletes exposed to outdoor training in the spring. We can't stay
Okay.
indoor this long.
Yeah.
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 That can lead me to a whole new room of questions, right? And especially when it comes to Canada. I mean, because the thing is, I am here and I'm seeing a whole lot of young talent. Just, I wouldn't say it is going to waste, but it lack interest, right? But I don't want to even go down into it today. That I think it can bear a lot of fruit, and so I want to leave it for another topic that we can discuss. The whole development of Canadian athletics, where it is the indoor versus the outdoor. Why is it that the indoors is just seem to get the youngsters lacking in interest, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to
Yeah.
discuss that in another, because that's a whole lot of technical things. And sure, in terms of what you're saying, you have a whole lot of reason why you're saying what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
Having the youngsters having the opportunity to be outside, and
Outside.
and how it can help with their development. But to go back to a question, to go back to a thing, something that you said about you don't have to be an experienced athlete or an athlete any at all to be a very good coach, because you said that you have very little bit in terms of it. You would have known a little bit of it, and double in terms of running yourself and that kind of thing. But yet still, you would have gone through the system and gotten all the certification, and be on in one of the top universities, here in Canada.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I know, even for Jamaica, the top two elite coaches in Jamaica never run anything at all.
So true.
A lot of
So
people,
true.
a
Yeah.
lot
So
of people
true.
might not even know that they didn't run anything at
Yeah.
all, right?
So true.
So and that's what I'm saying. There's several discussions that we need to have, because I wanted to. I mean, Rudy and I are talking about recognizing coaches for the work that they put in, because you guys put in so much work. But when the fruit is fully ripe, and people go and pick it off the tree, people forget the roots of where the thing come from, and where all of this would have started from. So,
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
of the things that you're doing where you are in your university right now, a youngster getting up to the world championships, getting a gold medal, or to the Olympics, getting a gold medal, a lot of people don't understand the fundamentals that was put into him to get him where he is today. And I would see you doing a whole lot of that,